An empty space stands still and bare. The sound of footsteps then fills the air. Look up, look up, look up and see. What color will it be?
White!
What is white?
My balloon is white.
What else is white? A white swan. A white lamb. Snow is white. Oops, and it can be slippery. Can you spot anything that's white? A white dandelion clock. The white cliffs of Dover. A white jellyfish. White hair on a wise head. Big white wind turbines. Lots of things are white, aren't they? You can use white paint to make art.
Okay, so what colour is this?
White!
Fantastic!
Lots of white paint. That's it, splodge the paint on the paper. Look at all those patterns. You can use paint to make art, but you can use other materials as well, like ribbon and felt.
So are we ready to start making our snowstorm?
Yeah!
Excellent. So what does the colour white remind you of?
Ice.
Ice. And your teeth as well.
piece of art with white materials. It's not just in art where you might see the color white. You might see white on a washing line, bubbles when washing up, soap suds when washing hands, or toothpaste when brushing your teeth. White sheets, time to sleep. White cliffs at Dover, white water pouring over, wild white foamy splash, graceful gliding jellyfish. White seeds, a flower clock, a fallen feather, white and soft. Tall white turbines towering high, white clothes, fresh and dry. Clean white teeth, bright white stone. Fluffy white tummy, warm in the snow. Camouflage white blending in. Snowy white angel wings.